I hate soccer.
First of all, welcome home.
Thank you.
Was that picture the other day from Cranbrook soccer
Yes.
field?
Yes.
I coached a country day
Oh my goodness.
for 4 years.
So when I was, I guess would have been, I just finished at Corton Elementary School. I grew up in Birmingham, and I had just finished 5th grade, and my parents came to me and said, listen, we are going to send you to one of these schools. And I got into DCD, Detroit Country Day, and Cranbrook. And literally, they said, you're going no matter what, because I was pissed off. Oh, my God, I can't believe you're taking me away from my friends, blah, blah, blah. And they said, you're going, but you can pick which one, either way. And the only reason I went to Cranbrook was because DCD had a dress code.
Cranbrook doesn't have a dress code?
I mean, you can't wear jeans or anything, but DCD was like, tie and all that kind of stuff. And so that's how I got to Cranbrook.
Okay. So I coached a country day with Paul Bartoshuk.
Mm-hmm, sure.
He's probably the one that recruited you.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, yes.
And then did you have Jeff Vanel?
Maybe, but not. I can't remember.
Because I worked a coaching course, and I helped Jeff out. It was an NSCAA, grassroots course. And I'm going down the stairs at Cranbrook, and there's a mural of you from high school.
Yeah. There's they're scraping the bottom of the barrel over there at Cranbrook, so...
Well, yeah. It's ridiculous. But, I mean, welcome home.
Thank you. It's fun. I don't have any family here anymore, and so any chance I get to come back and see friends, and I walked around Cranbrook the other day, and then walked around Birmingham. A lot has changed.
Has anything changed at Cranbrook?
Cranbrook is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
It looks the same. There's been some upgrades here or there, but every corner I turned, I was like, I remember when I did this here and did this here and did this here. So.
Have you been downtown at all?
Detroit?
Not
since I've come. Not this one. I have in other instances when I've come back. And Detroit, I'm much older than you, but back in the day, going to Detroit was like you had to have a specific place you were going, and basically, Greek town or whatever, or a block or something, and that was it. And now, I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's a whole lot better. And you can go down and you can have a night and you can kind of make it up a little bit as you go along. And that's a marked difference from when I was growing up.
Absolutely. I mean, we could talk about Detroit and everything and your upbringing and everything, but I got to thank you.
Oh, okay.
1994 World Cup made me fall in love with soccer.
Oh.
And I was 10, and it was actually, so I was at the game at the Silverdome.
Okay.
Switzerland.
Rest in peace. Yep.
Yeah. It was so hot. I don't understand how you guys. I don't understand how you guys played in that. But then it was actually the game against Colombia that really changed me, and it made me fall in love with it. You guys running around with all the American flags draped all over you.
It's crazy.
That also made me want to become a goalkeeper. Because Tony Meola, Peter Vermees was going crazy about how good Tony Meola was, and he was the hero of the game and everything. And that made me want to be a goalkeeper.
Oh my goodness.
And I would rewatch that exact same game and just study positioning, study the distribution, studying, the communication and everything. And that game, who scored? Well, it was the own goal.
The own goal. And then Ernie Stewart.
And then Ernie
Stewart,
Yep, with the Tab Ramos ball in.
So two things. The fact that you say that is wonderful. It never gets old. I have so many people that are from your generation that were informed by that summer and really kind of brought into the tent. Literally 5 minutes ago, someone just about your age came up and said the exact same thing, and it makes me it warms the cockles of my Michigan heart, and my American heart to hear that impact took place in that summer, and it was so important. It was a formative type of moment, seminal type of moment for the game, but for a whole generation that's, your eyes, they were wide. It's like, oh my goodness, this is what it can be, and I want to be a part of this. And we talk about this tent, and we brought so many people into that tent, and we'll do it again next summer, but it's a very different landscape now. So
that's my next question is, okay, so leading up to 94 and the aftermath. Obviously, the MLS started the following year, 95, right? Or 96?
96.
96.
Yeah,
96. And then we're 30 years into the MLS, and we've made up some ground.
Mm-hmm.
What are you looking for next year? is it gonna? Are we expecting another leap like '94 was?
I think there will be a leap, but I think it'll be different. It might look different. It might manifest different. But it's still an injection of soccer in a country where soccer still isn't king. And so all of the attention and the focus will be on this game. And the view of not just American soccer, but America will be through the lens of this World Cup. Because also keep in mind, it's the 250th birthday of the United States. So there's a lot of synergy. There's a lot of stuff that is going to be happening during the summer, including July 4th. Which is going to be that celebration. There'll be plenty of other celebrations, but obviously that day is happening within the World Cup. So there's a lot that can happen. Young kids will be, like we said before, amazed and awed, and most importantly, inspired by what happened. But the world is coming back to a very different soccer landscape than 1994, and it should be also said 1999, which were the two seminal moments that changed soccer: the Women's World Cup and the Men's World Cup. But as you know, it's changed fundamentally. And don't let anybody tell you we're not a soccer-playing nation. And never, ever apologize for what we are or what we aren't. And you are a part of this whole ecosystem. But, we are passionate, we are discerning, we are educated, and sometimes out of necessity because of this compare and contrast that happens with the rest of the world. Yeah. At times, I talk about it a lot, we're insecure. At times we have an inferiority complex, and we really have to get over that. And I think we are heading that direction. Maybe next summer, what ends up happening is we prove to the world, but more importantly, we prove to ourselves that we are worthy of attention, and we can celebrate what we are as a soccer-playing nation. As unique and as eccentric and at times different as it is, we need to lean into that. That's okay. And again, stop apologizing.
Dick Bates once said that he was asked, describe the American player in one word. And he goes, Marines. And I think about that, and I think about you guys, and I think about that 2002 team, and I feel like we've lost some of that.
Yeah.
I feel like we've almost, after that 2002 World Cup, I almost feel like we've arrived. And then we kind of took a step back because we abandoned who we really were, grit, defend like hell. But then in 2006, I feel like something changed where we're like, we can play with anybody in the world, and we're going to play it open.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't really panned out.
Yeah, I think there is a romanticism that has crept in to what we want. And part of that is good because it justifies or it excels belief. But the other part of it is trying to be something that you're not, as opposed to trying to be the best version of ourselves. And that best version, I think, takes all of the quality that we had before. And again, I don't want this to come off as if we can't or shouldn't evolve. We absolutely should. But we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater and lose some of those things that you're talking about. I mean, this summer during the Gold Cup, the fact that Diego Luna was the big star.
Yeah.
Part of me is like, hey, that's great, that's awesome. He resonated and he cut through. But why did he cut through? Because he exhibited the traits and the characteristics and the personalities that we've always kind of associated with the team, and to your point, we've gone away from. And that's sad that we've gone away from that, and we didn't recognize that as we progress and get better, we still have to keep those essential traits of what we are. And that's difficult, and it gets into a whole other subject, but it's difficult to do that. But when you've established something, especially in America, where there's so many other ways that you can do it because of the way that we think, you got to hold that precious and keep it. And we, to your point, we let it go. And getting it back isn't always easy.
How can we get it back?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know, because I don't know if it's something in the water or it's relative to the time and what we were playing. But, if you had asked me in the summer of 1994, back when you were just, being introduced and wide-eyed, what we would look like in the summer of 2025, less than a year away from the summer of 2026, which was when the Men's World Cup was going to come back, I would have a very different view of soccer in general. I'd also have a very different view of the actual national team. And that angst and that worry that I think is there, it saddens me that that's where we are right now. Because we've had plenty of time to recognize that 26 is coming. We've had plenty of ramp, the opportunities and the pathways and the resources that this generation has. I don't want to sound like a grumpy old man, because I don't begrudge them. I'm actually very proud, and it's a reflection on all the work that everybody's done.
Absolutely.
But with that comes responsibility. And if in doing that we're the architect of our own demise, because we've created a player that doesn't have those attributes that you're talking about. I guess that's on us, but it's a pity.
Yeah. And when did it all change in terms of the system that we have right now and what the end result is? Because in my day, we didn't think about college. We didn't even think about the national team because we didn't think that could exist.
Right.
Because we were really struggling to make ODP, right?
Yeah.
Or the state team, and then just something changed. And I've said it a few times already this weekend that I think it was when coaches became full-time at the youth level, and they realized that this could be a career.
So, so I don't know if that's the point, or that's the point that it changed, but I would push back in that I don't. If it's detrimental maybe in the way that you're thinking, but I don't think that it was detrimental and problematic to have coaches actually look at it as like, I can make a living out of doing this.
Right.
I think we oftentimes, I was just talking to someone earlier, I've met so many coaches here, and whether it's coaches or administrators, people that are involved in leadership positions, we vilify a lot of these men and women for daring to make a living in this sport. I celebrate the fact that they make a living. I celebrate the fact that they are putting out a product that people want and people will pay for.
Absolutely.
We never do that when it comes to piano teachers or dance instructors or other stuff, except there seems to be this notion that American youth soccer has to be this benevolent charity and this altruistic approach. And I'm not saying people aren't doing it for the good reasons and from the heart, but it's a business, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud that this country, which does promote capitalism, and that has infiltrated into soccer, enables now multiple generations to make a living. And so blaming them for what we are as a soccer-playing nation, I think it misses the mark. I think it's wrong, and I think it's ultimately unfair. I'm not saying that we're perfect, but I would rather have this than maybe some of the other alternatives.
Than what it used to be.
Yes, absolutely.
Dad,
and that's why...
No offense to Dad's coaching, but Dad's as well.
Exactly. But that's good that you point that out, because we kick ourselves for what we haven't done or what we aren't.
Right.
And sometimes we also have to pat ourselves on the back with how far we have really come in a relatively short period of time, both on and on the field. Yeah.
Right. And I feel like one of the reasons that we will always be behind, air quotes, is that we're still full of first-generation soccer players. Whereas Messi, his father played, his grandfather played, and now his son is playing. So that's a fourth-generation soccer player. A lot of Michigan's older, is an older soccer community, and some others, but for the most part, I'm in Buffalo, New York right now.
Okay.
And almost all of our players, first-generation soccer players, and our best players that we work with are usually the second generation.
Yeah.
And so we'll always be a little bit behind because of that. And I think that's the sole reason why the women have caught us a little bit, is because it's in their culture. And they're second and third generation soccer players already, even though that they only really started focusing on the women's game recently.
So when I grew up, my mom was a writer, poet, and my dad was a professor.
Okay.
Actually just around the corner here at Wayne State University. And when I started playing youth soccer, like all the kids do, orange peels and juice boxes at halftime and mom, dad coaching and all that kind of stuff, they found out that my dad's Greek. And immediately, he's got to coach soccer. Why? Not because he knows a damn thing about soccer. As a matter of fact, he didn't know anything about soccer.
Right.
But he was Greek. And so he was the best thing. Now, that has changed a little bit, but it's still, relative to the rest of the world, still behind where you have multi-generational soccer, not just fans, but soccer players, and everybody kind of does that. We are starting to see some families where mom and dad played soccer. It was always, it was on their palette of sports.
Yeah.
They might have even played at a high level, may have played at college and stuff like that. And so there's these soccer families that exist out there, but they're few and far between. But there's more of them than certainly than when I was growing up.
Right. Okay, two hypotheticals. In 2026, we don't get out of the group stage.
Okay.
Do you see a reset coming in youth soccer, whereas I always reference the book Das Reboot, where when Germany failed and what was it, 2006?
Right.
And then they kind of redid their whole youth system, and then they win the 2014 World Cup.
Right.
If that were to happen, do you think that there would be a little bit of a reset and U.S. soccer would get more hands-on the youth?
I think there would be a lot of hand-wringing and a lot of screaming and yelling, but the DOS reboot type of effect, I think not only would it not happen, I think it's almost impossible for it to happen in a country like ours. I think that there would be people that would lose their jobs, and I think there would be a rethink as to how we are doing things. But again, it goes back to this, getting 11 men to represent a country the size of ours, diverse as ours is, in terms of the diversity of thought. And I said the other day, if I ask 100 people here at this expo what beautiful soccer is, I'm going to get 100 different answers.
Absolutely.
They're all Americans, but they all have 100 different ways of thinking about the game. And so trying to get 11 men on the field that all think about the game in the same way to represent this country, that is very, very difficult. And so I don't know what that reboot would look like.
Right.
And again, it goes back to the capitalist in me, in that I don't want to mandate or force people to do something that they don't want to do. And that's what gets into this, this whole thing about recognizing that at some point somebody from a national team perspective has to say, this is how we're going to play.
Yeah.
And we don't have enough time to fit everybody in. This is it. And if you can adapt and adjust to that, that's fine. But maybe that's the most direct way of getting to a good team going forward. I don't know if that would be part of it or if that would happen, but I mean, all hell will break loose.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not the worst thing in the world next summer. I don't think it's going to happen, but if it were to happen, that would be very problematic.
But what you said about how you can't get 11 people to agree on what our best system is,
right.
You can't get 11 coaches here to look at one player the same.
Sure.
We had arguments last night about Christian Pulisic or Gio Reyna, and we all said something a little bit different.
Sure.
It's like, how can we put this back in the bottle if we all think that the solution is something different?
And that's a very unique aspect of the United States, because, the other day, somebody brought up Iceland a few years ago. I don't know if you remember when Iceland happened. They're like, well, why? If Iceland can do it, why can't we do it? And it's a total apples and oranges thing. First off, the actual size and our geography relative to Iceland is different. Second off, there's a homogenous type of understanding and acceptance of this is how we're going to play. This is who we are. And everybody accepts that. And we see that in other countries. You mentioned Germany, obviously Spain. And it's passed down sometimes from generation to generation. This is who we are. Right. This is what the beautiful game is, where there is a general agreement as to this is how we play the game. It's reflective of our country and culture. We don't have that. And I don't know if we will ever have that, which is why I say that people wouldn't care how we won from a men's perspective, the World Cup. Right. All they give a crap about is if we win. How it actually gets done, nobody cares about. But that's the hardest thing to figure out, is how we're actually going to do it.
Absolutely. And I think that for us to compete at that stage, we have to kind of go back to 2002 tactics of knowing who we are, defend like hell, and counter.
And counter, set pieces, good goalkeeping, that kind of stuff. And Bruce understood that. Bruce Arena, good and bad Bruce Arena at different times, but ultimately at his core, he was simple. He recognized, I need to simplify, especially at the international level. I know he had success with the club, but internationally he recognized, I don't have a lot of time with these guys.
Right.
So I got to be able to impart that information and break it down to its simplest form. And it's not dumbing it down, but it is to a certain extent, which is why Pochettino, the coach right now, first off, he's never coached internationally, so so now his wheels are spinning. It's like, oh my God, this is very, very different than anything I've had, and he just doesn't have a whole lot of time right now. We have 8 games before the World Cup.
That's what we were talking about last night. Is okay, you might get 36 days with these guys, and we're expecting him to just pull off a miracle. Is it really realistic?
No. I mean, he's going to have the soccer gods are going to have to smile upon it. And so that's why it was kind of disappointing this summer that everybody wasn't together, because it's the last time in a setting like that. But those players that came in, we mentioned Diego Luna, those players that came in that had 6 weeks with him, God, what a incredible advantage that is for them. And
Absolutely.
And to get in front of not just him, but his whole coaching staff, and not just during the games, but day in and day out. And this is what that player really is.
Exactly.
That is a unique thing that oftentimes doesn't happen in a national team. And so to waste it, I use that term intentionally, but it's a little unfair, but to waste it and not have everybody in and then expect us to just figure it out over the next less than a year, maybe that's a bridge too far.
The second hypothetical is, I'm not going to say, what if they win it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say that. But what if we do a 2002 run
Yep.
where we make it to the quarterfinal? A controversial call could have tied the game.
Sure, could have gone to a semifinal.
Could have went to a semifinal.
If VAR's around, maybe we're in a semifinal.
Let's say that happens.
Yes.
What would that do
So
for the game?
There's nothing better than a World Cup, except for one thing, a home World Cup. So it juices it up that much more. Okay, I'm sitting today in front of you because of the 1994 World Cup. If that World Cup had been played someplace else, my life might be very different. Okay, I'm not saying there's not a power to a World Cup, but the power of that moment in the United States, that was a different thing. And so that will be on offer for this team again. And if they were to grab a hold of it, and all of the 1980 hockey team and the Americana, if you will, that's going to be on display next summer, if all that comes to fruition in a positive way, Christian Pulisic, as great as he is, his legacy for a lot of Americans, if that were to happen next summer, would be about the summer of 2026, okay? I mean, and he might go on to do great things with Milan and all that kind of stuff, and I think he's well on his way to probably being the best male American soccer player ever. Mm-hmm. But it would solidify if he did it, not just at a World Cup, because he certainly has played in a World Cup and played well, but if he did it at a home World Cup, that takes it to a whole nother level in terms of the impact and, like I said, the legacy.
Two guys that are sitting here across from each other because of the 94 World Cup.
Exactly.
Think about that.
It's,
you just said that.
It's insane. It's insane. The timing's everything in life.
Okay. Broadcasting instead of coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
I'm a performer. I've always recognized that. Even when I was a player.
Playing music.
Yeah, all of that. I mean, but I didn't look at it any differently in that, as a player, you put on a costume, which is ultimately a uniform, right? You step on a stage, which is a field. You go in front of an audience, which is a crowd or whatever. You train, which is just another form of rehearsal, mm-hmm. right? So I've always looked at myself as a performer, and so the opportunity to, again, I can't kick the ball anymore, but I can get in front of a camera and I can perform, and I enjoy the reaction. I enjoy the performative aspect of it. And when I say that, it doesn't mean that what I say I don't believe in or is not true. Yeah. But I recognize that how I say things is important as what I say. And I enjoy the juice that I get when that red light turns on, that anything could happen and I could screw it up. And you're never going to replicate what playing is. And I'm not chasing that. But I will say that it fulfills me, and maybe even more so, in a way that I didn't anticipate, and I'm glad that I found it. And so that's why I want to keep doing it. That's why I enjoy doing it, and why I want to get better at it.
Do you enjoy the banter and the hate comments, or do you just not read your comments?
I read all of them.
So do I. So one of my players. So I run a training company out of Buffalo as well, and I have my own facility. But then I started this podcast because I used to just go in front of a phone and I would talk into it and say my 2 cents.
Good.
But then I started this podcast in January, and it's grown a bit. I gained 10,000 followers since January on Instagram, and some of the comments are and I read every single one, and I almost reply to every single one, good or bad.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and so it comes with the territory. I've developed a pretty tough skin.
Yep.
And literally my morning, I don't feel it's complete until I wake up and somebody calls me something that I can't even use on this on this show. But it is... I love the fact that there are platforms out there where people can voice their opinion. I know anonymity is, they cloak themselves, and it enables them to do things that they wouldn't necessarily do in front of me. Mm-hmm. It's not that I don't take it seriously or personally, I can vouch, and you can, I can verify here that I am an actual human being.
Yes.
I don't look to have people say mean things, but I recognize that the things that I do are going to provoke that at times, and that's okay. I don't want people to agree with me all the time. As a matter of fact, if everybody does agree with me, I probably am not doing my job.
Man, I love that you're here.
Wow, this is great.
This is great. How did you get hooked up in this, Paul?
Yeah, Paul Tinian, and I was said yesterday at the opening, you don't get a chance to be at things from the start, and so it's really kind of cool to be here, that hopefully something that is going to grow and obviously come back home and that kind of stuff. It's very, very cool. So you just started this in January.
Yeah.
Okay. And what did you just say? Hey, I just want to do it more in a more formal type of setting?
Well, it started out, I wanted to interview my college players that I work with and just tell them or talk about their recruiting process and everything. And then I started getting feedback of, wow, from younger players that I work with. I've learned more from your podcast from these players than their club has helped them in the whole recruiting process. So basically I said, okay, well, I'm going to go all in on this, but I'm not going to stop there. I'm going to have youth coaches on. I've had a sports psychologist on. I've had dietitians on. I've had you on now, and I've done episodes here, and I mean, I love this.
Yeah.
And when you talk about when that red light goes on, anything can happen. Yeah. And with this, I always try to have mine be authentic conversation and not necessarily in the 1999 World Cup when Escobar knocked that goal in. What was going in your head?
Right.
I'm not that type of interviewer. I just want to have a normal, free-flowing conversation and see where it goes.
So what's your take on college? Because like I said, I'm much older than you, and I went the traditional college route. If I was coming out today, I wouldn't be in college. It wouldn't happen. The elite player doesn't use college, and yet it's this existing infrastructure that I was in Syracuse a couple weeks ago, and I went and saw, and you're in Buffalo, right? You said? Mm-hmm. So I went and saw the facilities of the Syracuse team, and it's insane.
Yeah.
The access and, like I said, the level of facility, they have rivals professional clubs. Right. And so, again, it's this existing infrastructure that is no longer viable for the elite player, and yet if we could rejigger it, and I know it's been talked about changing the season and doing all that kind of stuff, it would be great. Easier said than done when it comes to the NCAA, but it's just this sleeping giant right now that if we could wake it up might be one of the reasons, and might be one of the things that we're talking about in terms of changing things going forward.
I mean, do you think U.S. soccer is actually going to get involved in college soccer like they're talking about?
I hope so. Somebody's got to,
I think it's the only entity that's one entity that they can take over. They can't go into the ECNL and take them over. They can't go into the MLS Next and take them over. Right. So might as well, the youth is the youth, and we're going to contract it out. Right.
And it's ripe right now. It's ripe right now because of the crazy craziness that's going on right now.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like a distressed property right now that you could come in and say, we'll take it off your hands, because they got a million different things with NIL and the conferences and the football that's going on. So
what I don't understand about college soccer is that when you look at the top 25, it just was released yesterday. Mm-hmm. 21 of the 25 top teams in the women's game are Power 4. 21 out of 25. On the men's side, 8. 8 out of the 25 are Power 4. What does that tell you? It tells you that internationals and transfer portal. Who would you rather coach? An 18-year-old freshman or a 20-year-old freshman from England who was on Arsenal's, all in their academy the entire time? It's a no-brainer.
It's amazing how, and I guess ironic, that the reason why American elite players aren't going through the college process is that they've been told, and fairly so, that it will stunt their growth and it's not necessarily beneficial to them. And yet many of these quote-unquote professional players that started out in other countries have recognized the backdoor opportunity of not only getting an education, but making themselves more viable, possibly coming out of that college to then get back into the pro game. It's completely flipped as to what's going on right now. So, and I'm not saying that back in my day we didn't have colleges that had international players.
Right.
Some of them, but they were kind of few and far between and everything like now. And to your point, if you're a college coach, your job is to win.
Yeah.
And if you have the ability, and maybe even a better ability, to get some of these players that are coming from overseas because they're going to pay full bill or whatever, it's just easier to get them into the school.
Yeah,
that's exactly what you're going to do.
And so we always talk about the D1 or bust mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Do you follow the youth game at all? Do you follow what's happening at the youth?
No.
Because right now it's becoming an ECNL or bust on the girls' side, and it's an MLS Next or bust on the boys' side. And even if you're on the MLS Next club, you're trying to get on an MLS club somewhere. And I don't know. I miss the open system of the ODP and State Cup, where a Wolves could play a Vardar and you get to prove it on the field, or a Jags gets to play a Nationals. Whereas,
so the silo effect is what's concerning you now. Okay, whatever.
Yes,
okay.
Rather than the competition of, you know what, we might play Wolves or we might play Vardar. We might get killed, but at least we get to play it, and they get to prove it on the field. Now, so in Buffalo, we have the Western New York Flash, which is all ECNL, and then we have RNY, MLS Next, and
never the two will meet, right?
They never meet, and they all just talk bad about each other, and it's like, and they're like, well, they suck. It's like, well, you've never played them, you've never gone and watched a game, maybe they don't suck.
Right.
I don't know why I brought that up. It's just, I almost think that we have to open up the youth to fix the higher levels, the NCAA and the pro level.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that leadership and definitive types of decisions wouldn't be beneficial to the American game. And that's where the United States Soccer Federation has to come in. But you got to be really careful about mandating stuff and forcing people to do things, especially when it comes to their businesses and when you're involved. The way of life, the money that they're making, the businesses that they have built, and I don't want to mess with that from an American perspective. And so maybe you have to literally win hearts and minds to say, this is what's good for the game, and what's good for the game is going to be good for you from a business perspective, because the more people playing, the more that the perception changes in a more positive way, the better off this whole ecosystem is going to be. That's a hard sell at times, but because it requires a leap of faith sometimes, and it also requires leadership and people that are willing to say, I'm doing this, and I'm going to take all the slings and arrows, but this is the way that we are going. I don't think we have that right now. Those types of voices, those types of people that say, I am going to this mountain, okay, and everybody's coming with me. And if you're not on board, get the hell out of our way. But this is what we have to do, and let the chips fall where they may. You're going to fight along the way. There's going to be some problems along the way, but that's ultimately how things get done or how things change.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. This is great. This is great.
One of my college players asked me 2 weeks ago. It's like, so with this podcast, what's your end game? Who do you want? Who's your dream guest? And I said, probably Alexi Lalas or Carly Lloyd.
Oh my goodness!
So thank you.
No problem. Well, I'll put in a call to Carly if you want. If you'd like to talk to her. So
what took me to Buffalo was to go coach NWSL with the Western New York Flash.
Oh yes, we were just talking about that the other day.
So I got there the year after Carly got traded.
Okay.
And then I had Sam Lewis, Lynn Williams, who else? Abby Dahlkemper.
Yep.
Great rookie class. But we got our teeth kicked in because everybody else had 3 national team players. We had Sydney LaRue for 3 games that year, and then she left.
When she was gone.
Because that was a World Cup year, 2015.
Got it.
And we won. That was Canada, right? But
listen, no. I mean, I say this to people, this space that you are now part of, okay? And really, I mean, I know you will probably have felt it, but this community that you're a part of, I get to dip in, and I make a point of dipping in, and they've been wonderful in terms of welcoming me in. It doesn't matter how many listeners you have. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing it, how big you are. This is all, again, that ecosystem that I talked about, and it's as important as anybody that's kicking a ball. So I'm glad that you are expanding this, and I'm glad that you are seeing the fruits of your labor, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's not for the faint of heart, and there will be up and down times, and I will only tell you this when it comes to podcasting or any type of show. Routine is your friend, because people oftentimes will set their life to the things that you're doing. So your consistency is going to be very, very important. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right.
Awesome.
I hate soccer.